Thanksgiving isn't just a holiday. It's a heartbeat. A moment to pause, to breathe, and to say, God, you've been so good to us. It's not about the perfect pie, or even the perfect turkey, though let's be honest, we're thankful for that too. It's about gratitude for the big things, for the small things, and for everything in between. It's about looking back and realizing, through every high and every low, God never left. So this week, we laugh louder, we hug tighter, and we thank the one who gives us what we need. We are the people of God, and that means we are people of gratitude, not just today, but every day, not just here, but everywhere. So from all of us to all of you, happy Thanksgiving.
So this month we are doing a series that we're calling the Thanksgiving Bounty. And what we have begun to look at is this idea that preparation for Thanksgiving starts long before the month of November. And last week we looked at this idea that when we are far away from our future and we are just at the starting point, like for example when turkeys start hatching in February or when seeds grow in the ground in April and May, when we're at that point, we can be thankful even when our future is in the distance. And we can celebrate the moment that we are in right now. And so we're going to continue to look at this idea of preparation for the Thanksgiving meal. And tonight we are talking about the hot days of summer. Like, turkeys hatch in February and March, and then seeds are planted, and then you get to summer. And summer can be super, super exciting, and it can be so much fun, but it can also take a lot of work. Like I told you guys last week, we raise our own turkeys. This is Tate hanging out with our turkeys. And our turkeys, man, they are just an absolute blast to be around. You can go out into our backyard and they will come running up to you. They're just super curious creatures. They'll come running up to you and wonder what you're up to, wonder what you're doing. They'll eat out of your hand. They will talk to you. Like you can go out and you can be like, oh, you are so beautiful. And they'll start, or they'll gobble at you. They'll fan out. I mean, it's just this incredible, so much fun. And you can see that they're like, this turkey is just enjoying Tate petting it. So cool, so cool. But at the same time, turkeys are an absolute blast, but they are a lot of work. For example, our kids and our family, myself included, throughout the entire summer, sun comes up at 6 o'clock, they are up at 6 o'clock. We are up moving electric fences, making sure that the predators don't get to them throughout the night, so we have a fence around them. So in the morning, we have to move the electric fence. We have to make sure they have fresh food. We have to make sure they have fresh water. And then on the really hot days, most days in the summer, we have to go out 2 or 3 times throughout the day, and we have to dump their water and make sure they have fresh water because turkeys overheat really easily. And we have to make sure that they are staying cool, that they're not getting diseases, not getting injured. We have to make sure the predators stay away. And so like I said, we have electric fences and a chain link fence and all kinds of stuff to protect against that. On really hot days, we have to go out and turn the hose on the shower and like spray them down for like 15 minutes and just stand there and help them get cooled off. That's just part of what we do. And then at night, we have to make sure that we are home as the sun is going down or before the sun goes down so that we can again move our electric poultry netting back around the turkeys and make sure they're protected from predators at night and round them all up, which can be a chore sometimes, and make sure they're in their area where they're supposed to be and dump their food and dump their water. And day in and day out and day in and day out, we do all these chores for these turkeys. Now, when I think about it, sometimes life is like raising turkeys. we tend to live our lives in this preparation period where it's just a lot of work. We do the same thing over and over and over and over. And you guys know what this is like. You go to school every single day and you take notes in your classes and you study for your tests and you make sure that you're doing your homework and you work really, really hard at school so that you can get good grades. And maybe after school, you go to a practice for band or a club you're involved in or for an athletic team, and you practice really, really hard. You work really hard at your practice so that when game time comes, you can be successful. Maybe you have chores at home, and day in and day out, you make sure that you have to do these chores so that you can be a participant in your family and you can see the success of a job well done, and you work hard. And then at some point, you find space throughout the day to do the million little things of work that nobody ever thinks about, and all the things that you have to do just to make sure your day is successful. We spend our lives just doing a lot of daily work. And work is a part of the preparation for the Thanksgiving meal. Pumpkin pies would never happen without someone planting a seed and tending to the vine and making sure that the vine is healthy and there's no bugs that get into it, and then harvesting the pumpkins and then straining the pulp so that you have this pumpkin puree that you can use in your pumpkin pie. We live our lives in this moment of work. And so the question becomes, how can we spend our lives in these moments of work being thankful? Because the work that comes along with living is often where we find ourselves experiencing most of our lives. The work that comes along with living is fun, we celebrate, we have a blast, but sometimes it takes a lot of work, and that is where we experience most of our lives. In the book of 1 Thessalonians, Paul is writing to a group of people that make up the church in Thessalonica. And Paul is writing to these people, and he really, really likes the church in Thessalonica. They are just an awesome church that is doing great things for God's kingdom. And so he writes and he tells them how incredible they are and how thankful he is and all the good things they're doing. He encourages them to continue to live this life that follows Jesus. And he encourages them to continue to step up and do the work that Jesus has called them to do. And then he gets to the end of the book, and it's after he's gone over just a few specific things just for that group of people, and he gets to this spot where he gives a list of all right guys, here's the daily grind stuff of just where you find yourself every day. This is something you can work on every single day. You find yourself in the midst of just living life and doing the work that is life. These are things you can do. And in that list, he says this: give thanks in every situation, because this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. Give thanks in every situation. Now, I've heard this verse preached before, and I've heard people say, we got to give thanks in the good times and in the bad times. And yes, we can do that. But I don't think Paul is necessarily making a statement for saying, man, when you feel like your life is just falling apart and everything is going wrong, be like, thank you, God, that my life is falling apart. I don't think Paul is saying that in this moment. Because when we look in the context, Paul is giving a list of things in just daily life, the work that comes along with daily life. And Paul is saying, listen, as you do the work that comes along with daily life, whatever situation that may be in, work really hard to be thankful in the midst of that. Because let's be honest, if I can be honest with you guys, the alarm goes off at 6 o'clock or earlier during the summer on one of the days when I don't have to work. I really don't want to get up and go outside and take care of the turkeys. There are mornings where I just want to sleep in. And granted, there are mornings where my kids let me sleep in, and those are awesome mornings. But a lot of mornings, that's just part of our life. Like, we just get up. That's what we have to do. And you face similar situations in your own life as well. You face these situations where, man, I really don't want to go to practice today. And it just feels like work. Situations where you're like, man, I really don't want to write that essay for school. And so Paul is saying, listen, our lives are full of these moments where it's not like a huge time of celebration. It's just a normal daily, like, this is what we do because we're living here on this earth. How can we be thankful in those moments? That is the big question. How do we cultivate an attitude of thankfulness? How do we cultivate an attitude where that's just a part of our lives, a part of our daily lives, just like all the things we do for work? Thankfulness is just a part of that no matter what situation we are a part in. And so I came up with a list, and this is by no means exhaustive, but these are just some things that came to my mind as I sat and I prayed and I thought about what Jesus would say to us for how to be thankful. There are four things. First is this: prepare for your day. Prepare for your day. We see Jesus do this often. Jesus would wake up and he would go off by himself to pray. Mark 1:35 says, early in the morning, well before sunrise, Jesus rose and went to a deserted place where he could be alone in prayer. And I wonder how much of that was not so much like Jesus getting down on his knees and saying all the right words and being like, dear God, but how much of it was just like, all right, God, I got this day before me. And I know you're going to bring all kinds of situations, whatever comes, I'm going to be prepared for it. And if we can sit down and really take some time at the beginning of the day and say, all right, what am I going to face today? How can I prepare for it? How can I be prepared for my day? We can find that we have a better mindset to be thankful in those situations, because those situations don't necessarily catch us off guard. So one, we can prepare for our day. We can just take some time and pray and think through what our day is going to look like. Two, second thing you can do is you can say thank you out loud and be specific. I love looking at the letters that Paul wrote. And at the beginning of the letters that Paul wrote, you often see him be like, man, church, I am so thankful for you, and here's why. At the beginning of 1 Thessalonians, he says this. In 1 Thessalonians chapter 1, he says this. He says, maybe I don't have that. We always thank God for all of you when we mention you constantly in our prayers. This is because we remember your work that comes through faith, your effort that comes through love, and your perseverance that comes through hope in our Lord Jesus Christ in the presence of the Father. And Paul's like, dude, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your faith. Thank you for your hope. You guys are absolutely incredible. What if we brought this into part of our normal lives? I tried this week because I knew I was going to challenge you guys later to thank people more often for mundane things that they do. And so I passed the guy pushing carts in Walmart. I pass those people all the time, and I'm just like, hey. And so I'm passing this guy, and I'm like, dude, thank you for your hard work. And he just kind of looked at me like, you are out of your mind, but it's kind of cool that you just thanked me for that. Like, what if we just started being people that were just very specific and thanking people for the mundane things around us? Here's the cool thing that happens when we start to do that is it encourages the people around us, but it also changes us. And all of a sudden, we start to notice these little things around us that we can be thankful for, little things that we can encourage others about, little things that we can thank other people for what they do. And we say it out loud, and we are specific. It's not just a thank you, it's thank you for whatever the person did. Let me ask you a question. What would happen if sometime this week you were like to your parents, thank you for always having a meal for us. Thanks. You worked really hard on dinner tonight. I really appreciate it. I wonder what your parents' reaction would be. Or if you were like, hey, I noticed there was some laundry in my room. Like, you do my laundry every week. Thank you so much. What if that became a part of your family dynamic? How would that change your relationships? Here's a crazy one. And we have some siblings in here. What if you started to thank your siblings for things and were specific? How would that change your relationships? That would be, and I see some of you looking at each other. That would be crazy, right? Because so often the people closest to us were just like, nah, that's what they do. But what if we began to notice and began to thank them, and we were doing it out loud and specific like Paul did in his letters? Third thing that we can do to cultivate an attitude of thankfulness in just our everyday mundane things. Write down what you're thankful for. Write down what you're thankful for. What if you just started a thankfulness journal and you're like, I am so thankful for the opportunity to wake up in the morning. I'm so thankful for my teacher at school. I'm so thankful that I have the ability to participate in this club, this activity. And we just started writing them down. I gave you guys a challenge last week, and I'll give you the same challenge at the end tonight. But if you wrote down 15 things, and 15 things is a lot in one day, but if you did that every day for a week, at the end of a week, you would have 100 things that you were thankful for. What if that became more a part of what we did? And it doesn't have to be like huge things. It can be like, man, you know, I'm really thankful that I'm able to type. Like, that's a skill that I use pretty often. I'm super thankful for that. It can be little things that we notice throughout the day that we can be thankful for. We can begin to write those down. Last thing. What if we set some reminders on our phone and they would go off randomly throughout the day? And every time that reminder went off, you were just like, all right, what am I thankful for right now? What's going on right now in my life that I'm thankful for? These 4 things are just, again, they're not a list to end all lists to make us mentally thankful. But they're ideas that can help us begin to cultivate this mindset of thankfulness. Because Paul says, whatever situation we may find ourselves in, as we go throughout our daily lives, when we are interacting with others, when we are spending time alone, when we are working on that project, when we are waking up early to go let out turkeys, when we are going out for the 3rd time to give the turkeys water because it's really hot and we're having to interrupt what we've been doing, what can we be thankful for? You see, this incredible opportunity is that Thanksgiving can become a part of our life culture. Not something that we just do one day in November, but something that is a part of who we are day in and day out, a part of our mindset. And we can begin to cultivate that just like seeds are cultivated during the summer and plants are cultivated to prepare for the Thanksgiving feast in November. We can begin to cultivate our own mindset of thankfulness so that we can be thankful in all of the small things and in the big things in the Thanksgiving dinner that's coming down the road. And so the practical challenge tonight is simply this. The practical challenge is to simply pick one of the 4 things that I mentioned. Pick one of the 4 things. Prepare for your day. Say thank you out loud and be specific. Write down what you're thankful for. And set alarms on your phone. Pick one of those things and try it this week. Maybe it'll work for you, maybe it won't. Maybe you'll have to go back to the drawing board and try something different. But this week, intentionally try something to cultivate your own mindset of thankfulness. Because Paul says in 1 Thessalonians 5:18, be thankful in all situations, because this is God's will for your life. Let me pray for you guys. God, thank you so much for tonight.